back in April 2015, which is a year and a bit ago, as I'm speaking now, I was having some what became known as torturials with Mark Bassey on composition and arranging, and the material was in Sibelius and on GarageBand and Logic. And Mark was very enthusiastic and positive about the material and said to me, when are you going to get it played? And I was a bit frightened of getting it played, really. I mean, I was a bit frightened to ask musicians. I was frightened they wouldn't say yes. I thought they might say, no, sorry, I'm too busy, I'm doing too many different things. I don't want to take on another band. But eventually I thought, well, if I ask many of my favourite players and singers to come and have a play, then who knows, people might show up. And in this room, in the Verdict, on whatever it was, April the 20th, I think 30 people showed up, and it became apparent that I'd given the altos a high F to start on, and that wasn't practical, and I'd written things in the wrong clefs and all of that. And I'd never directed a big group before, so I was very nervous and very self-conscious. But I got such brilliant feedback from everybody and positive suggestions on how to make things better that I went home and came back the next day having rewritten all the charts, and did 2 rehearsals that day, the second day, with largely a different group of players each time. And by the end of it, I thought, well, it might work. So a few people said, it's not really my thing, and a few people said, yes, I want to do it. And then within about 3 rehearsals, Jack Kendon, who plays trumpet and flugelhorn, said, there's a gig if you want it, at the Lantern Fair in Brighton in September. And I thought, we're in May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, well, we've only got 3 tunes at the minute, but maybe we'll have a bit more by then. And then Charlotte Glasson, who plays saxophone with the band, said, well, there's a gig at the Brighton Open Air Theatre at the beginning of August. And I just got strong-armed into taking it. So I took the gig, and loads of people said, yeah, I'll play. So we played, and it was good. I was amazed. About 8 trumpet players turned up on the day. It's the most awful racket. And then other people said, do you want to play here, do you want to play there, do you want to play the other place? And everybody in the group kept saying, yeah, we should do it. And so I thought, yeah, all right, then we'll do it. And so we did it, and I don't know how many gigs we've done now, but it gets better every time. And we run it so that people who can come to rehearsals, come to rehearsals. So sometimes we have 12 people, sometimes we've had, the fewest we ever had was 2, and we had a cup of tea instead. But most of the time it's 12 people and more. And by some miracle we managed to do a rehearsal every Monday, most Mondays, and another one every second Thursday. And I think we've had as many as 42 people on the space when we've played. Typically it's over 30. Significantly, nearly half the members of the band are women, which delights me, because there's an atmosphere and a dynamic which is quite different from most of the large groups I've played in, which have tended to be very sort of masculine and a bit kind of muscle flexing and competitive. And this group isn't like that. Anyway, just for Christmas in 2014, we thought we probably had enough material to record some stuff for promotional reasons and to see if there was the possibility of it being a recording that people might want to buy. And we've got 4 tunes recorded. There's an arrangement of Scarborough Fair, which was the first thing that the band tackled. There's another one called Hollywell, which is an adaptation of 2 old tunes of mine, What Happens Now and Over the Hills. There's a new tune called Heart of Oak, and the 4th one is an arrangement of a tune of mine called Pueblo, which I recorded 7 or 8 years ago. And they sound and look very good. And I'm pleased to say that the composition of the group, not only is it almost 50-50 in terms of sexes, but it's also it's a broad church in terms of age and experience. So we've got musicians who are 60 plus, some of whom have not played professionally before, but who, sitting alongside very good pros, have been inspired and developed their skills to the point where they're now quite capable of holding their own and not being intimidated. And that's credit as well to the pro end of the band for being encouraging rather than intimidating. We've got some really young players in their early 20s and everything in between. And we've got a group of singers, which numbers between 4 and 5 up to about 8 or 9, depending on who's around. They're mostly women, but there's an old friend of mine called Anthony Durrant who sings sort of tenor baritone. And it would be nice to have a few more male voices in there as well. We've got a flute section, a dedicated flute section, and I'd have a dedicated clarinet section if I could persuade some of the saxophone players to put their saxophones down for a bit. That might happen. We did a rehearsal today and somebody came and played bass clarinet all the way through. So that might happen as well. And I've been doing some writing for strings. And I'm hoping to collaborate with Patrick Harrix, who's a very fine composer who lives here in Brighton, who runs a couple of orchestras, and I've played in, I was going to say the bass section, but it was just me, with his orchestra, and they make a great sound. He runs a couple of orchestras, and it'd be nice to integrate that sound into this group as well. I play bass. I'm not the only bass player in the band. My friend Eddie Meyer played on the recordings and has done many of the rehearsals and most of the gigs. We have a pool of keyboard players who vary in experience from Mark Edwards to Alice Hawkes. Alice is a very fine musician but hasn't done very much professional playing, whereas Mark has been a pro for 30 years, I'd say. And we've got accordions and tuned percussion, melodica. I mean, it's almost a joke, but if somebody turns up and fits at a human level, then I'll write a part for them. There's a whole load of new material. Hilary Burt, one of the flautists in the band, has contributed 3 pieces so far. I think there'll be more. A couple of other people are working on tunes, and a couple more have said they will work on tunes. There's new material in the pipeline. I've got, I think, 4 new pieces to run with the band. we've got some great gigs coming up. We're playing at this year's Love Supreme Festival and at the Big Green Cardigan Festival, which is near Battle. The Brighton Open Air Theatre in June, and a few others. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to go on and play in more and more provincial theatres around the country and on the continent. It's hard to know, but there's a lot of good feeling both within the band and around it. We're lucky. Brighton is a healthy and friendly place to be a musician, and all the musicians in Trees have given time, energy and talent freely and happily, and when you've got that kind of goodwill, it feels like anything's possible.